I think we should start now. Prof. Snyman and Mr. Survey, can you indicate if my screen is clear?
Yes, your screen is visible. Maybe you can just click on the slideshow icon below just to make the slides bigger. Just right to that one. Just go to the right-hand side. Yeah, the one on that one. Yeah, just click that. There we go. Yeah. Now it's much bigger, easier to see. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon once again to everyone. My name is Professor Mswela and I'll be leading today's session. Professor Snyman, can you kindly confirm from your side if this lesson is recording?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. As I said, I'm Prof. Mswela and I'll be leading today's session. I'm also pleased to welcome you all today in this session. And today's session is a feedback session. And I would like also to take a moment to introduce my colleagues who are joining us today. By now, I assume you all know Professor Snyman and Mr. Sevei, the co-lecturers of the module LJU 4802. They will be supporting this section. As your lecturers, we are all here to support your learning and your engagement throughout the session. I'll now move on to explain the purpose of this session. Today's session is to provide an overview of the status of your assignments at this stage of the semester. We are also going to walk you through on how to access the feedback to the marked assignments via the learning management system. We will also highlight a few important aspects on the importance of taking time to read and reflect on the feedback on the assignments that we have posted on the learning management system. We will also address the process for raising any queries or concerns regarding dissatisfaction with the grading of your assignments. I will move on to discuss the status of the LJU 4802 assignments. As you are aware, the submission period has now officially closed and no further extensions for assignments will be granted at this stage. I am pleased to inform you that all assignments have been marked and all assignments have been released or returned to students. If you have not received your written assignment at this stage, please, we request that you email your lecturers as soon as possible so that we can investigate on what might have happened. Detailed feedback regarding the assignments has been provided in tutorial letter 201. I will now expand on this in the next few slides. Moving on with this slide regarding the accessing of tutorial letter 201, your feedback for assignments 1 and 2 can be accessed through the learning platform, which is my modules, which I believe by now you are now familiar with. So in order for you to access the feedback, you have to go to my modules, look under additional resources, then find a file which we have titled Feedback for Assignments 1 and 2. The feedback is in form of tutorial letter 201. It was also appended to the announcement, which we formally notified students of its availability. I would like to explain why the feedback you receive is such a critical part of your learning. The feedback that we provide in tutorial letter 201 is there to provide you with constructive feedback on the marked assignments. We also provide you with the feedback in tutorial letter 201 in order for you to develop an understanding of the course material and for you to improve on your performance in the upcoming exams. The other reason why we provide you with feedback is to promote reflection. So the feedback provided in tutorial letter 201 encourages you as students to reflect on the learning process, to recognize the areas of improvement, and to adjust your study strategies accordingly. It is therefore important for you to read the tutorial letter with the feedback. With regards to the written assignments, we provided you with sufficiently detailed, comprehensive, and self-explanatory feedback. What we request from you is to compare your written assignment to the feedback that we provided. If you still have any uncertainties with regards to the marking of your assignment, we request that you contact your lecturers. Regarding assignment 2, the lecturers configured feedback to be immediate. The feedback was tied to a specific answer, and students received feedback on their answers after completion of the quiz. We also request that you compare your quiz options to the feedback provided. Where there is any uncertainty, please consult tutorial letter 501. And if you still feel that you are uncertain regarding a specific question, you can consult with your lecturers regarding that particular uncertainty with the quiz answers. I will now move on to explain how queries or dissatisfaction with grading should be handled. Queries regarding any dissatisfaction with the marking should be addressed to either of the lecturers. We have set a deadline for queries to be forwarded to the lecturers. The deadline is the 15th of May. Once we have received all queries, we will review and respond to all the queries in the order that we received them. Where changes have been implemented, grades will be adjusted and you will get a notification in that regard. Having said this, I will now invite questions. As you are all aware that questioning is part of learning, we now invite questions relating to the presentation that I've made and any questions that relate to the feedback that we provided in tutorial letter 201. All questions are valued in this session. There are no bad questions. We believe that every question helps someone else to learn. Professor Snyman, would you mind keeping an eye on the chat and letting me know if there are any important questions? It will really help me. I'm also checking on the chat, and I'm also checking if there are hands that have been raised.
I do not see any hands on my end, and there's nothing yet in the chat pertaining to your presentation. There's a hand now. Ms. Mayberg, you can proceed.
Thank you so much. I just want to check, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello. Okay. Sorry, just checking. Technology is the thing. Thank you so much for allowing us to come together today and make yourselves available. It's very much appreciated. I have just a couple questions with regards to the assessment, but it follows on to what I would call examination-related queries. The question that I have with regards to the feedback that we received for the written assessment, they were obviously very concise feedback answers given. My query / concern is that if we were to answer the questions in a similar fashion, would we not have been flagged for plagiarism? Because my score already on my written assessment was 29%, and I've tried so hard not to use quotations or the exact language in the case or in the sources used.
Is that your question? Is there anything else?
No, well, the question is that as in plagiarism obviously is a very important thing, and then if we were to answer questions in that sort of fashion, would we not just be flagged for plagiarism outright? And going into the exam, although we understand it's not an open book exam, but if we were to use, it's the same material, therefore arguably some of the notes could be very similar from which we study. So if the answers are not similar because you're copying from someone, but if your answer is similar because you're using the same source material, how do we prevent being flagged for plagiarism when the answers that you've given us, for example, are very concise? And I would argue that if we answered in that fashion in the assessment, we would have been flagged for plagiarism.
Okay, just the first thing, it is an open book exam. As we've stated in our orientation lesson that we had earlier in the semester. So it is an open book exam. It's not closed book. Regarding the plagiarism, you must remember that Turnitin flags similarities. So the similarity report will obviously be influenced by the type of material and the type of questions asked. So what we do is, in this case, we acknowledge or we know that it is a court case with very specific answers, and the assignment has a very specific purpose. So there will inevitably be similarities between students' answers, but it is highly unlikely that you will get two students where each of their answers will be exactly the same, written in a similar manner, the same mistakes on the assignment. So those things are flagged, and then the marker looks, when something is flagged, look at the assignments and assess whether this is still the student's own work or whether it should be flagged as a possible irregularity. So we are cognizant of the fact that you know, due to the kind of material, there will be similarities, and due to the kinds of questions. I'm not quite clear on your remark that the answers are very concise, I think you said. Maybe all that I can say on that is that you need to focus on exactly what we asked in the particular question, and then focus on that by using the court case or the study material. So our answer is exactly what we wanted from you for that particular question. So we didn't, make it concise answers for a particular reason. That is exactly what we wanted. That is the correct answer. And if you've given a focused answer and try to answer exactly what was asked, that was what you had to provide us with. Obviously, if your answer would not look exactly the same as ours, perhaps you might have phrased it in another way. You might have structured in another way. But I mean, if that is what your answer essentially related, then you should have been given marks for it. So I hope this makes it a bit clearer.
Can I ask just one? Sorry, the exam, is it the similar format as in, are we going to be asked to evaluate a court case, only thinking about time constraints?
No, you will not be asked to evaluate a court case. You must make sure that you study your tutorial letter 501 and all the prescribed material, because we can ask you anything from your study material. You have 4 hours and it's an open book exam. So
thank you.
Yeah, it's not only or the whole exam will not be assessment of a court case now.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it very much.
Any other question?
You can go ahead, Ria Leboha.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Great. I wanted to ask with regards to asking I'm asking about how we ask about the feedback for assignment 1. Do we contact you guys via my live email or via the module site, or how do we go about letting you guys know that in our assignment that we're missing marks, or there's been an error in the marking, or how do we go about, do we send you our assignment and highlight the specific part of our answer where we feel as if we've been robbed of a mark, or how do we go about asking you guys for those marks?
Okay, thank you for that question, Ria Leboha. Once you have identified any discrepancies in the marking, you can email either of the lecturers and give a motivation of regarding why you feel that your answer is correct. And then once we've received your email, we will look at your assignment and provide you with our feedback after the review. Our email details, our email addresses are in the tutorial letter 101 and on the welcome page as well.
Okay, thank you. Is there a cutoff date for this, or is it before the exams, or by the end of the month? Is there a specific time that you guys need this?
Okay, I did touch on that in the presentation that I made. I think I did indicate that the 15th of May is the deadline for queries to be submitted to the lecturers.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, Courtney, you can go ahead.
My apologies. I wanted to just, if possible, could maybe common mistakes that you have noticed over time be highlighted that you would suggest should be avoided? Thank you.
Yes, perhaps I can. Do you mean with the assessing, with assignment 1, specifically with assessing or with interpreting the court case?
Yes, if I could be honest, my issue, I would say in general, is the interpretation of questions. I seem to not entirely understand what is essentially required, although I believe I do in that moment. And if you had, common mistakes that you find that students do when interpreting questions that reflect in their answers, how it can be avoided with answering problem type questions.
Are you now referring to problem type questions in the exam specifically? Or are you specifically referring to the court case?
I'm referring to problem type questions where, as in the case in this instance, was where we were to get the facts, and in the exam, I'm assuming we would have problem type questions as well. So methodology of interpreting those questions is what I'm asking about.
Okay, I do not want to elaborate too much on the exam now, because we are going to have an exam session specifically before the exam. Let me start with assignment 1. I think one of the common mistakes that we see students make is that, despite the fact that we specifically say that they must refer to the source, which is the court case and tutorial letter 501 in footnotes, that is often not done. So that, unfortunately, that is something that is recurring, despite the fact that we point that out, and despite the fact that students lose marks for not doing that. And then I think the second thing, perhaps generally, is, as you say, that students do not answer what was asked. They do not focus, in other words, on the specific issue at hand. I think especially when it's an open book assignment like this, or an open book exam, you still need to know your work very, very well. And with for example, the court case, you need to read that case from beginning to end before you start answering any questions. And that is the same with your study material. Even though it is an open book exam, you need to study your tutorial letter 501, which is your study guide for this module, as well as the prescribed material, very well. You only have 4 hours. If you do not know your work well, you do not understand your work, and you do not know where what is discussed, you will struggle to finish within 4 hours, and you will struggle to know what the focus of a particular question is. And then students start writing all sorts of things in the hope, that I might, there in between everything that I've written, there might be some marks to be given. So that is not the purpose of the open book exam. So you must still, I think that's a common, perhaps, mistake, is that students might think that because it is an open book exam, I don't have to study. you still have to study very hard and make sure that you know where to find what, and so that you can finish in the 4 hours given.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I think that's one of the mistakes. Courtney, if you have specific issues, I mean, it's difficult because students might have, you know, if you talk about the interpreting questions, students might make different mistakes, or, you know, there might be different feedback that you would like to give a student. So, you know, if there are something specific that's not clear to you, or when you prepare for the exam, and that's for all of you, and you're not sure how to approach a particular type of question, or, you know, how you don't understand something, or please, you know, contact us. And then we can always have a discussion with you and your particular issue, and try to assist you with that. So that you don't feel, you know, things are getting lost in translation. So please feel free. If there's something specific that you want to ask us, you're always welcome. But I hope that those very general remarks assisted somewhat.
Thank you. It's just to alleviate panic, basically. Thank you very much.
No problem. And please don't panic. Before you start panicking, rather contact us, please.
Thank you for that, Professor Snyman. I see no other questions. I've also checked in the chat. There seem not to be any further questions. I'm not sure if I missed any question, Prof. Snyman, Mr. Sebei.
I do not see anything on the chat, and I do not see any hands.
Okay, Prof. Thank you, Prof. In the absence of any further questions, I think I can adjourn the lesson. Unless there is anything that you need to say, Prof. Snyman.
No, I think that's all from my side. Also, just thank you for attending, and I just want to reiterate, if there's anything else that you want to discuss, feel free, send an email to your lecturers, and we can always, if we cannot answer you via email, we can always chat with you via a Teams meeting. So yeah, please feel free. And we will have an exam session as well, but you will be informed of that also via the announcements. So if you have, then we will discuss, you know, what the exam, and if you have any specific questions, we can deal with that then. Thank you very much, and have a very nice weekend, all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.